Welcome back, everyone. Time to do another comparison this time around between the newly released iPhone 12 Pro Max and the smaller, older iPhone, the iPhone 11 Pro. Now, this one came out last year, a little bit over a year ago. This one is brand new. This one costs $1,099 to pick up. This one cost $1,000 last year. You can probably pick it up for like maybe around 700, maybe even cheaper, probably in a couple of months. But I can definitely tell you between these two phones, my opinion is going to be not shocking to a lot of people, I'm pretty sure. But if you want to get both of these for the cheapest prices that I find, I'll link them down in the description below. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, you can definitely see that the iPhone 11 Pro is a much smaller phone than the iPhone 12 Pro Max, even stacking it up to one another. So the entirety of the iPhone 11 Pro is bigger than the panel of the iPhone 12 Pro Max, or smaller than the panel of the 12 Pro Max, which is pretty crazy. Now, on the front of the iPhone 11 Pro, we have a 5.8-inch, OLED display, and I always thought, these specific panels are really good. Apple did a really good job in these panels. You have the curved architecture to it, or whatever design, and it's the flat design on the 12 Pro Max, but it's a much smaller phone to hold, and it doesn't feel any less premium. And when you look at this one, you look at the 12 Pro Max, you don't really see that big of a difference, if I'm being honest, in terms of the way the panel looks. In some ways, I actually think the 11 Pro has a better looking panel than the newer iPhone 12 series, which is pretty interesting. But you still have the same notch and everything like that. Face ID, the panel itself looks really, really good. Now, the iPhone 12 Pro Max, on the other hand, it's much, much bigger, and it has a 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR OLED panel, and it's a really good-looking panel, too. I mean, it's massive, so, they both kind of feel the same in the hand. In some ways, the iPhone 11 Pro may feel a little bit better because it's smaller. To some people, they may prefer that, but the flat size on the iPhone 12 Pro Max is a newer design feature. I just don't know if it's necessarily the best way to go about doing it right now on this big sized phone. When I was using the 11 Pro Max, it didn't feel as big as something like the 12 Pro Max, even though this phone is bigger. It just feels way bigger than something even like the 11 Pro for sure, but even with the 11 Pro Max, it felt bigger than that. So depending on what size you like, I mean, definitely I can tell you the panels look almost identical. It's just a bigger aspect of the iPhone 12 Pro Max in terms of the thinness between the two. You can see, I don't really think one is thinner or thicker than the other one. They both feel kind of the same type of thickness. Because the 11 Pro is smaller, it gives the impression that it is a smaller, thinner phone. But I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Because of the curved design of the iPhone 11 Pro, it does feel a little bit thinner though. And on the back, you can see triple camera setups on both, but we do have the LiDAR camera on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, frosted glass backs on both, but like I said before, I kind of like the feeling of the frosted back on the iPhone 11 Pro a little bit more. They may be identical, but maybe placebo. I kind of feel like the 11 Pro may be a little bit better. They both have IP certification. They both have pretty much the same exact externals for the most part. I mean, you're just getting a bigger phone with a LiDAR sensor on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, but I still think the iPhone 11 Pro holds up extremely, extremely well in terms of the body. You do have that MagSafe capability on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, but you have wireless charging on both, which is perfectly fine. So that pretty much covers it up in terms of the outside. In terms of the software, I'm pretty sure everyone knows they're both running iOS. There's not really going to be a ginormous difference between these two, besides the fact that the iPhone 12 Pro Max is theoretically going to be lasting longer than the iPhone 11 Pro. So if you want a longer lasting phone, the 12 Pro Max is the better way to go, but features and everything should theoretically be the same on both, so there's not really any point in spending 50 minutes talking about it. But I will go ahead and do a speed comparison between these two phones right now. The iPhone 11 Pro has that Apple A13 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 GB of RAM, where the iPhone 12 Pro Max has that Apple A14 Bionic chip inside of it with 6 GB of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster phone between both of these. Okay, let me go and clear all the apps in the background. And of course, with the iPhone 12 Pro Max, I don't have any of the apps cleared, but with the iPhone 11 Pro, you can see all the apps are cleared out. Now it's super windy outside, so it's going to be kind of annoying, but I guess we'll make it work. So now that we're back, let's go and do the App Store. 3, 2, 1. And I think the 11 Pro actually may have been a little bit faster there. Scrolling through, you can probably see they are about the same. Let's go and click on something. Let's click on this one. And I think the 11 Pro may have been a little bit smoother, but scrolling speeds are about the same too. Again, you're getting a much bigger panel on the 11 Pro Max than on the iPhone 11 Pro. Now, as always, I have a bunch of these third-party apps that we can go and get into. Let's go and do Netflix. 3, 2, 1. And the 12 Pro Max was faster there. In terms of the actual, gestures and everything, they look about the same. There's not a ginormous difference at all. Now, of course, it's getting bright, so I'm going to have to turn on the ISO. Hopefully that's better. Let's do Quizlet. 3, 2, 1. And 12 Pro Max is faster. 11 Pro a little bit slower. Dropbox. 3, 2, 1. 12 Pro Max slightly faster right there. Let's go ahead and do Bofa. 3, 2, 1. And of course, I messed that up, so we can go ahead and try it again. Let me open it up here. Close out of that. Let's do Bofa again. 3, 2, 1. So, I mean, the 12 Pro Max was slightly faster. I mean, I don't know what to make of that one. Thank you. 3, 2, 1. and the 12 Pro Max was faster. iPhone 11 Pro is shortly behind it. Let me go increase the brightness here a little bit. Let's go and get into some gameplay. And as always, I mean, I don't really think there's going to be that big of a difference in terms of this gameplay. They're going to be roughly about the same, in my opinion, from what I've seen. It's a pretty basic game. Snake versus blocks, 3, 2, 1. The 12 Pro Max was faster. iPhone 11 Pro slightly behind. There's really not that big of a difference. The 11 Pro Max is so far I think the faster one every single time except for a couple times. But the iPhone 11 Pro is just only a little bit behind it, which is pretty important to note. Let's do Fruit Ninja. 3, 2, 1. And the 11 Pro actually was faster, but the 12 Pro Max does have that newer update. This one hasn't gotten it yet, which is weird, but what's whatever, I guess. Let's do Paper IO 2. 3, 2, 1. You can see the 11 Pro is faster, 12 Pro Max a little bit behind. Let's go and get into some gameplay. And as always, I don't think there's going to be that big of a difference between the two. And there really isn't. They're both about the same there. Let's go into the next one, Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And it's very close, actually. I don't really think one is way faster than the other one. They both were almost neck and neck, which is not really that surprising, but you can see the 12 Pro Max was actually the faster one at the end of it. Let's get into some gameplay, and I don't think there's going to be a difference at all, but it's worth a shot. And they're both going to look about the same. I don't think there's going to be that big of a difference between the two at all. Let's do Relay Racing 3, 3, 2, 1. And this sunlight is going all over the place. I don't know why it's being like this. And the 12 Pro Max is faster. 11 Pro slightly behind, not a ginormous difference, like very, very subtle. I don't think if you were comparing these side by side, you would even notice these differences. Stack, 3, 2, 1. They're very subtle. Like, I don't really think day to day you would notice that the iPhone 12 Pro Max was this much faster, this much slower than the iPhone 11 Pro. And, that kind of covers up all the apps that I wanted to test. I mean, we can try RAM management, but what I can tell you is that, as expected, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is faster than the iPhone 11 Pro. But the question that you have to answer yourself is it that much faster? Is it worth it to go from this phone to that phone because of the RAM management or because of the speed? Now, RAM management is looking to seem to be about the same on both. Maybe it will be better on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, but the speed and everything, app opening speeds and everything was roughly about the same if I'm being completely honest. I don't think there was that big of a difference between the two. So in terms of speed and everything, I'll probably tell you the iPhone 12 Pro Max may be a little bit faster, but the iPhone 11 Pro is still extremely fast. And now the sunlight is being so weird and the brightness is off. But let's go and talk about the cameras. Now, as I stated before, we have triple camera setups on both, all 12 megapixel lenses. They both have ultra-wide sensors and telephoto lenses. The iPhone 12 Pro Max does have that LiDAR sensor though. And in terms of the UIs and everything, you're really not going to see that big of a difference between both because they both pretty much have the exact same features. You can zoom in a bunch, you can zoom out a bunch, and that's really pretty much all the capability you have. I mean, you have portrait mode, night mode, all those cool things. Really whatever you can do with the 12 Pro Max, you can do with the 11 Pro, and both of them can do 4K at 60 on the back and front cameras as well. Now, I'm not entirely too sure why my 11 Pro's camera looks better than my 12 Pro Max right now, but I will probably tell you there's not really that big of a difference. If you already have an iPhone 11 Pro, going to the 12 Pro Max is not going to be that big of a, you're not going to see that big of an upgrade. Maybe placebo, maybe they added a little bit of a software enhancement here and there, but from what I've heard, from what I've seen, even from my own tests comparing the 11 Pro to the iPhone 12 Pro, there really wasn't that crazy big of a difference. They both can do pretty much the same thing. And the question I always say is like, are you going to be filming, cinema like quality videos on your phone? If you're not going to be doing that or you're not even trying to, the 11 Pro is still the 11 Pro is more than enough. The iPhone 10 is probably fine for a lot of people. But again, if you want the best camera in the world, then go for the 12 Pro Max. But I've been having issues with my 12 Pro Max. Why is it this weird? Like right now, it actually seems a little bit better now, but it's still so blurry and there's so many software problems with this phone. It's just glitching up all over the place. I don't really understand it at all. So I'll have to fix that. I don't know why. The 12 Pro Max is probably going to have the better camera, but the 11 Pro is still extremely, extremely good for pretty much every single thing you're going to do with this phone. So that pretty much covers up the camera comparison. Now, ending it off with the battery life, theoretically, you should be getting better battery life from your iPhone 12 Pro Max. It has a bigger battery. You're still on iOS, same versions and everything. From what I've seen, the 11 Pro's battery was perfectly fine. I used this phone for a year. I loved it. But since iOS 14, it has taken a toll on the battery life. So that's honestly the biggest L that has ever happened in my experience in terms of the battery life segment. I think the iPhone 12 Pro Max is probably still going to give you better battery life in this example, but over time, maybe it'll kind of even out once iOS 14 matures a little bit, but I'll do a full separate battery comparison at some point. But to kind of sum up this video and to answer the question, should you pick up the 12 Pro Max? Should you pick up the iPhone 11 Pro? Let me tell you some pros and cons with the iPhone 11 Pro first. First of all, it's an amazing phone still. It feels extremely good in the hands. It doesn't feel cheap. Like, this is still a flagship phone. Don't get it twisted. This still feels really good. The camera quality on this device is still extremely good. I will have to turn on the brightness. Yeah, I'll turn on the brightness a little bit. It's being weird. But the camera quality is amazing. You have pretty much the same camera quality on both. You have the notch design on both. You have an amazing display on this phone, wireless charging, like extremely good build quality. This phone doesn't feel like a cheap phone. And compared to a lot of phones out in the market, this thing has held its value pretty well too. So if you pick up this phone now, it's not going to depreciate a lot. The 12 Pro Max isn't going to be doing it either, but this phone is still a flagship phone, and I don't see that big of a difference. In fact, I see some downsides from going from my 11 Pro to my 12 Pro. The biggest thing being battery life, in my opinion. With my iPhone 12 Pro Max, on the other hand, this is the better phone between the two. This thing has, a bigger display, newer design, I guess the LiDAR sensor if you like it, twice the amount of base storage, better IP certification, the MagSafe capability, a big, ginormous, beautiful display if you're into it. But some people, I think this phone may be too big. But if you don't have a size preference, I think some people may actually prefer the smaller type of design that the iPhone 11 Pro has over the bigger one that the iPhone 12 Pro Max has. And there's a lot of similarities. I will tell you, if you have the iPhone 11 Pro or 11 Pro Max, going to the 12 Pro Max is going to be a waste of money. There's absolutely no reason to do so. If you have all the money in the world and everything, then by all means go for it. You can do whatever you want to. But I'll probably tell you, if you're trying to get the best bang for your buck, the 11 Pro is by far the better phone here. But if you're trying to get the most bells and whistles and a phone that's going to be lasting a year longer than a phone that's already going to be lasting for a long time, then obviously go for the 12 Pro Max. This is $1,099 though, so there's a couple $100 difference between these two phones. And I'll probably tell you, if I had to go through it, I would definitely go pick up an iPhone 11 Pro. I think this one just makes way more sense. It's cheaper. It's not that far behind. Like, if this phone was a 10 out of 10, the iPhone 11 Pro is easily like a 9.8 or 9.7 out of 10 easily. Like, there's not that big of a difference between these two, besides the maybe a little bit of the battery life, the flat design, and the twice amount of base storage. Maybe a little bit of a better camera and better speed, but day to day, you're really not going to see that, if I'm being honest. So that really pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also, check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.